Hey, what's up guys? Today is a big day. We are installing the roof vent fan. Pretty stoked about this. This is a big step, cutting in the hole for the roof vent van. Means I can start wiring that up and then I can start doing my tongue and groove on the walls and the ceiling. So I'm going to kind of show you guys the process to get the vent fan installed. And it's actually surprisingly easy. I know that everybody has a little bit of fear cutting that big hole into the roof of your van, but it's really not anything to be afraid of. So I'm going to show you guys the process and walk you through it, and you'll see how easy it is. First thing you need to do is figure out where it's going to fit in the van. So on your ceiling of your van, you have all of these little ribs going across this way. So you need to figure out where you're going to put it. On my van, I have an interesting challenge in that I have a rear AC unit. And that rear AC unit takes up a ton of space on my roof of my van. So considering I'm trying to put a vent fan and a solar panel up there, I'm super limited on where I can put these things. And I was also super limited on only being able to fit one solar panel as opposed to 2 or 3. So this has been a bit of a tricky situation on mine, where I have the passenger van that has that rear AC. It's kind of a trade-off because I'm actually happy to have the rear AC, but I do lose some roof space, so I'm pretty limited. So what I'm gonna do is I gotta put mine pretty far back. So mine's gonna be, there's this bay and then this bay, so it's in the second bay on mine. Okay, so the first step you gotta do is you gotta get your fan. Now, y'all are probably saying, hey, where's the Max Air fan? I did not do the Max Air fan. The reason why is because on my previous Sprinter van build that I did, I used a Max Air fan. And I was under the impression from all the YouTube videos and van builds that I've watched that it was going to dramatically cool off the space in my van, almost like an air conditioner. It's simply not true. If you're gonna put a fan on your roof and be under the expectation that it's going to cool off your van, I hate to break it to you, and this is literally going to explode YouTube and everybody that does van builds. It does not cool off your van. All it does is move a little bit of air. You need to have a realistic expectation of what it's supposed to do. For me, all I'm trying to get out of this is some exhaust of condensation and like smell from cooking. I plan to have a shower in the van, so I'm going to have a lot of condensation. I just simply need this to exhaust that. I'm not under unrealistic expectations that this is going to cool down my van. So because of that, I went with the less expensive fan because it wasn't worth the extra money to me. The next step is I am going to mark out the 4 corners of this, and then I'm going to pre-drill 4 holes so that I can go up on the roof and just simply cut out the square. Keep in mind, this flange is smaller than the hole that you need to cut. So make your marks a little bit larger. Okay, first thing I want to do is clean the area. It's going to make it, when I do my butyl tape and my caulking, a lot easier. Notice as I'm cleaning that you can see the 4 holes that I pre-drilled from the underside, marking out the 4 corners of the roof vent fan. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and use the speed square just to kind of trace out the square with the marker. Alright, now that I've got that cut out, or lined out, I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I've chosen to use a multi-material plunge saw by Ryobi, but a lot of people like to use jigsaws and that works just fine too. So because I have this rib right here, I'm going to actually double up the height of this butyl tape to try to make sure that rib isn't in the way too much. So I got the butyl tape down. Next thing I'm going to do is put the fan actually in the hole. I'm going to screw it all the way around, which will squish that butyl tape and create a seal. And then after that, we're going to go through and caulk everything with lap sealant. All right, something that I need to point out, if you've never done one of these before, is there's actually a direction that you put the fan in. If you think about it logically, if you're driving down the road and the fan can open, you want to make sure that the wind isn't going to blow it open while you're driving. So the opening needs to go to the back of the van. So that way the wind doesn't catch it and lift it up while you're driving down the road. So the hinges, which I'll show you, you can see there's a hinge on here. The hinge goes towards the front. That means that the opening is going to go to the back. That way the wind is hitting the hinge and it won't blow it open. That's super important. If you put that in backwards, you're gonna drive down the road at 80 miles an hour on the highway and it's gonna rip off your lid. So make sure you do that right. Okay, another important tip, you'll see I didn't just go boom, 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 boom and do them all. I started here, I went over here, I came back to here, I did one in the middle, and kind of jumped around. If you just start here and you just go zzz, all the way around and hit every single hole right in a row, you're gonna get kind of a kink at the end. So you need to make sure you put them on kind of spaced out in the beginning so it sucks it down pretty evenly. Then you can go back through and hit all the holes. It's real similar if you've ever changed a car tire. When you put the lug nuts back on, you do them in a star pattern. You don't just start here and kind of work your way around, otherwise it kind of kinks it when it puts it back on. So same thing. Okay, now we're not done. One mistake that I see people make a lot on YouTube is they don't go through and tool it with their finger or like a piece of plastic or something. Just leaving it like that is not sufficient because as that dries, it'll just peel off. You have to smooth it in and squish it in with your finger. It's called tooling the caulk. You want to tool that caulk in there. That way it stays really well and it fills the gap, makes it stick better. There she is. Looks good. Make sure your wires are hanging down. You do not want to accidentally get these buried in there, because that caulking's on there and you don't want to have to take all that off. It'd be a mess. So then the last step, which I can't really finish right now because I gotta do my sealing first, is you would take this flange and you would stick it up in there, and it would cover everything and make a nice trim piece. The thing about this that you need to know is that it's important to do this after your sealing is done, because you may have to cut this flange in order to accommodate your sealing thickness and your insulation thickness. So save this for the end. If you end up needing to cut it, it's super easy. All you do is draw a line with a marker, however thick it needs to be, and then cut it off. Honestly, this plastic is so thin you could probably cut it with scissors, or you can use a knife or cut off wheel or whatever you want to use. But anyway, that's it. All that's left is wire it, flange it, and you're done. So the installing the roof vent fan is not difficult. It's not a thing to be afraid of. Honestly, that whole entire thing maybe took me 45 minutes. So it's just not that big of a deal. Don't be scared to do it. Just make sure you do it right. Be methodical about it. Be logical about it. Make sure you do the steps in the right sequence, and you're good to go.